Greetings everybody and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here tonight on Ben's album challenge to discuss an album that Ben has given me. So for those of you who are new and haven't done this before, basically every 2 weeks Ben picks an album for me to look at and listen to and review. I basically just listen to the album and then I give you guys my opinion about the album, and I usually pick one of the songs as my favorite. That was one of his stipulations. Can you pick a favorite? So I pick a favorite on the album. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. The album that Ben has given me is by Annie Frid Lyngstad, or better known as Frida. She is one of the two singers for the disco pop band ABBA. This is not something I normally do on my channel. However, it's been given to me, so I kind of have to do a bit of it. This is what I would call a pop album. I do have to admit that I do have a guilty pleasure. I do really like ABBA quite a bit. They are a band that I've listened to for probably going on about 20 years now. They were a band that initially, when I would be driving in the car, me and my daughter would be going somewhere, I bought this album because I thought it might be something she liked, and she really loves ABBA. And so we got into listening to a lot of ABBA for about 5 or 6 years there. I haven't listened to much in the past decade or so, but up until she was about 10 or so, she wanted to listen to them quite a bit. And so, along with Miley Cyrus, those were the two big ones, ABBA, Miley Cyrus. So I have a bit of a guilty pleasure for ABBA. This album is not ABBA, it's Frida. So Frida, she of course is one half of the vocal part of ABBA, and a strong part too. She has a strong vocal voice, very high pitched but smooth. I'm not even sure, this could be falsetto. It definitely sounds like it could be falsetto, but I don't think it is. I think it's just her natural voice. So without further ado, we are going to talk about Frida's third studio album here, called Something Going On. Now, I don't normally do this with Ben's album challenge, but because I was looking up, I wasn't aware that Frida had so many studio albums, but so I looked up a little bit. This one was released coincidentally on September the 10th, 1982, which is my daughter was born on September the 10th, but in 2001, so it's on her birthday, but prior to her actually being born. The studio was Polar Studios in Stockholm and Air Studios in London. I suspect the Air Studios was because of the producer. The label is Polar Music and Epic Music in the UK, Ireland, Israel, and Italy, Atlantic Records in the US of A, and this album was produced by Hugh Pilgrim and, of course, Phil Collins. Yes, the Phil Collins of Genesis. So, 11 tracks on this album in total. Now, this album, of course, was released during the period where vinyl music was the predominant way of expressing music. And so there are two sides on this album. One side has 5 songs, the other side has 6 songs, so 11 songs in total. There's only one track on the album I didn't really care for. The rest of them were okay, or better. So in the case of the first track, Tell Me It's Over, upbeat, catchy, nice rhythm, nice melody section to this album. And of course, Frida's vocals are clear and sound good here. The second track, I See Red, this is a little bit more catchy, a little bit reggae-like, I think. There's a little bit of a reggae element to the music here. I do like the melody on this song too, by the way. And Frida's vocals, again, very clear. The next one up is I Got Something. This has some keyboards in it, a little bit of keyboards, which are a little bit catchy. They add to the song, I think, and it's an interesting song, but not terribly memorable. The next song is called Strangers. This is one of the better tracks on the album. I think I had, I think there was 2 tracks that I gave a 6 or better. This was one of the 2. It's got some nice guitar here opening up. I think it's acoustic. The vocals again, very smooth sounding vocals on this, and it's a little bit better of a song than the previous 3. The next track is To Turn to Stone. This is a little bit more like the sound you might get from ABBA. This song reminds me a little bit more of ABBA, and I think it's because there's a little bit of harmony in this as well, which then lends itself to that ABBA sound because of her strong vocals. Yeah, kind of an interesting vocal sound here. So the next track is my favorite on the album. It's not really that close. It's a good track. This is I liked this track quite a bit. I Know There's Something Going On is the name of the track, and it actually comes with a video, and the video is of her suspecting her boyfriend of another relationship and seeing them and knowing that he's eventually going to leave. That's basically the topic of this particular song. It's a bit of a heavy opening. It's got a nice kind of a beat to it, I think. And the thing I like about this vocal is it's very well within the sound of a Pat Benatar song, and even her vocals are within that range as well. She almost gives a feeling, like I almost get a feeling, if I didn't know it was her and I had my eyes closed and I was just listening to the track, I'd almost think it might be Pat Benatar. I would be probably saying, this sounds like Pat Benatar, but there's something not quite Pat Benatar here. But it does have that sound to it, and I do like Pat Benatar quite a bit. The next song, I'm not really sure what the meaning is for the title. It's called Threnody. So I'm not sure. I think it's a combination word of a couple different words, and I'm not sure what they are exactly, but that's the feeling I get. It's got a nice acoustic guitar part to it, though, at the beginning. There's a few of them, and this was one of them. It's a good track here. The vocals are a little more subdued here. Yeah, it's a little more subdued. One of her many on this album. She does have a few subdued tracks here. This is one of them. The next song is Baby Don't You Cry No More. This is the one song on the album I don't really care for. It's got a little bit of a piano opening to it. It's more like a crooning song. It reminds me of something you might hear from one of the crooners. In this case it would be a female crooner, but definitely falls in that branch. I don't know if this is really a rock song. It does have some rock elements to it, so because crooning you don't get drums and guitar in there, and with this there's a little bit of that, so maybe it's not quite a crooning song. It was the one track on here that I gave it a pass, but it was barely. So and there was actually another track like that as well. This one is, I think, the worst of the 2 tracks, though. The next song is the Way You Do. Keyboard opening, nice little keyboard opening here. It's a bit of a poppy melody. Most of them are, but this one's a little more poppy than some of the others. The others have a little bit more of a rock element to the music. And this is, of course, another smooth vocal performance by Frida, she has a really smooth, silky smooth voice in the range that she's in. It's not an up and down, high pitch. It's not nowhere near like an Ann Wilson sound at all. So where Ann can belt out those great high parts and do the low part, and she's kind of in between and all over, and there's no smoothness. Well, it's smooth in a sense that there's no cracking in her voice or anything, but and Frida tends to sing in this one range, but silky smooth. You know. The next song, You Know What I Mean, another acoustic guitar opening. I do like the acoustic guitar on this. I'm not sure who does it, but very, very nice, like clear sounding. The album itself has got really good production, really clear sounding. There's a little bit of, I believe it's a string accompaniment to the song as well, like a string part, maybe like a little string ensemble. Another very strong vocal performance by Frida. She had no bad performances vocally on this album at all. I heard nothing to make me think that she was out of tune, nothing to indicate cracking in her voice. She maintained that same high level and smoothest thing throughout the whole album. So if you like that kind of smooth singing by Frida when she's with ABBA, you'll get a lot more of that here. And then the last tune on the album, which, to be honest, I think they could have done without. I know why they did it, but I just don't think it adds anything and just kind of sounds kind of ridiculous, to be honest. Here We Stay, a duet with Phil Collins. Now, I know Phil Collins kind of got into that Elton John kind of scene where he was doing duets with people, and this was one of them. There's lots of piano on this. It's very poppy. It's very piano. It's very kind of something you might hear on one of these America's Got Talent or something type songs. Yeah, it's you know, it's Phil Collins singing with Frida. That's what it is, you know. And I know that they kind of hope to capture that audience that likes that kind of stuff, and there is an audience that loves that kind of stuff, obviously, because there's a lot of that out there. I am not one of those people. I do not care for a lot of these kind of poppy diva type duets at all. So, and this one is, you know, I originally thought the other song might be worse, but now having reconsidered, I think this is possibly the worst song. I actually would have been happy if they hadn't included it on the album. Overall, the album is good. For a disco singer who I kind of enjoyed when she was with ABBA, it's pretty good. It's a pretty solid album, better than I would have thought it would have been. And she has a silky smooth voice, and it's a good album. Would I go out and buy it? Well, since I'm not really into that pop stuff by these type of artists, I would only buy it if I seen it somewhere for $1 or $2, and that's just being truthful. But if you are a person that really enjoys ABBA and you really enjoy Frida's voice in particular and would like to see what she can do on her own, and you like catchy poppy kind of songs, this is in your wheelhouse. So there you have it. Ben's album challenge for this week. Frida and her album, Something Going On. Now, she does have 2 previous albums to this. I have not listened to them, so I don't know what they're like. The little bit of reading I did do on it suggested that this was probably the best solo album by any member of ABBA. So it's a good album. I wouldn't turn it off when it's on. I didn't. So fantastic. So please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. If you have any comments about this album or anything about ABBA or any of that stuff, just put it below, and we will see you in 2 weeks time on Ben's album challenge again. Next week it's the Great Album Challenge again, and Ben has given me the year 1982. Another really good year. Lots of pretty strong stuff, more heavy stuff than usual here too. So we will see you then. Take care. Goodbye.